welcome to Worth Live, and thank you all for joining this week's episode of the Next Normal series on art in the digital age and how tech is transforming the way artists and art spaces bring work to life. Firstly, I hope you and your loved ones are keeping well during what continues to be a challenging time for so many people. I'm Juliet Scott-Croxford, CEO at Worth Media, and I'm thrilled to be joined by our special guests today, Sandro and Tati, the co-founders of ARTECHOUSE, and Kathleen Entwistle, Managing Director and Private Wealth Advisor at Morgan Stanley Private Wealth Management. Hi, everyone.
Hey, Juliet.
Good to be here.
Great to see you. Our intention at Worth is to create conversations that help inspire and inform our community, many of whom are business leaders, entrepreneurs, and investors who want to leave a positive impact on the world and help to create a more inclusive and equal economy and society for the benefit of everyone. And we call that Worth Beyond Wealth. So we hope you enjoy this session and find it valuable, and a very warm welcome to those that have joined us for the first time, and also a very warm welcome for those that have been with us for some time and joining us today. Forward thinking is really the essence of this series, The Next Normal, where Worth looks ahead to what the world looks like in this new environment that we're now all living in. We know that one of the industries that has been greatly impacted in the last year is the art space, especially museums and galleries. And we also know that technology has been evolving significantly around how artists create their work and tell stories. And ARTECHOUSE is an innovative digital art space that's been helping support artists in bringing their visions to life since it opened in 2017. So we're thrilled to be joined by the founders, Sandro and Tati, and also Kathleen Entwistle, as we discuss how technology is driving our exhibition space forward, how the integration of technology like AI is transforming how artists create, and how this could change what it means to invest in art now and in the future. So a few housekeeping rules, which I know you're all familiar with by now. This is a conversation and we welcome questions and comments from you. So please do use the chat function, set it to all attendees and all panelists so we can see that. And we will weave in any of your questions into the conversation and also leave some time at the end for it as well. So let's get started. Firstly, Tati, let's start with you. Please share a bit about your background briefly and how you became involved in this space.
Well, I guess my background is definitely not a traditional arts background. My parents brought me to the United States to get a degree in international affairs, which they felt was an appropriate field to step into. And after 4 years of studying in Washington, D.C. and working and interning on the Hill, and then actually being with the Morgan Stanley Wealth Management Group in DC, I found a path towards more of an art. Art has always been something that I've admired, and I remember jokingly with some of my classmates why I was taking art history classes while paralleling it with the finance and international affairs. I was saying, well, you make money with one and you invest in the other. But I found myself drawn more towards the arts, and just when I was getting into my MBA program, Sandro and I, we've met, and both feeling that DC as a very political city was missing more of the art scene. We started to work hard in creating a platform for local friends who were artists to showcase. And over the past 12 years, that grew into what we have today, which is ARTECHOUSE, which is an innovative platform for the artists of the future, the artists of today who are using the new tools such as technology to create. We felt that they were underrepresented, and we wanted to be a home for them. We wanted to invest into this ecosystem that we believed in. And so for the past years, we've been putting a lot of effort, a lot of hard work into creating the work alongside the artists, opening new locations to support their creations, and really getting public more educated and accustomed to what this art is and how to experience it. And it's exciting to see that things, especially over the past year, have been really picking up and getting advantage. And we're excited to be here to talk more about where we are and what we've been doing.
Thank you, Tati, and we're excited that you're here as well. And we do have a video to share shortly, just to kind of bring to life some of the work that you do. Sandro, I wanted to come to you next and say welcome, and if you could just share a bit about your background.
Yeah, so I grew up in a family of artists, and I think maybe a 10th generation of artists. I wish sometimes to have had some doctors and lawyers in my family, but unfortunately everyone, not maybe fortunately, that everyone in my family were artists, and coming from a different form of arts, and from the movies to paint to fine arts to the performance arts to actresses, to the, everybody that, you know, any form of art was part of my family. And you know, just growing up now in the 21st century for me was how can I use my the talent to bring that, you know, 24th century art to the spotlight. And that's what we do now in the ARTECHOUSE. It's really truly the incredible time to live in and to be a part of. And you know, compared to something that I deeply compare is movie theaters or movie industry or cinema in 120 years ago. This the new form of art that got created, a new form of storytelling got created. And you know, growing up on the family of a movie director, and you know, my dad made 65 movies, and you know, being on the movie stage and seeing that storytelling how being told using the latest tool by the time what they had, which is film. And now how the tools that these new tools that the artists and creatives have the access to tell the stories. That's what to me was fascinating. And what Tati mentioned, it was definitely one of the things that, you know, we saw there was a lack of the representation of this type of form of art in the public, and really educating the public about this medium. And yeah, and that's, you know, before ARTECHOUSE, I was actually 13 years in the fashion. So then, you know, I just kind of I came up with the brand. Then, you know, I sold my share, and I kind of burned out. I realized that, you know, the fashion doesn't exist anymore. It's more of the style of the humans as us. Everyone has own style. Like, you know, if you look at the 100 years again back, you know, 50 had style. I mean, it started from the 20s to all the way to until 2000 now. Every decade had own style. I think now we're getting to the very diversity, and the very, you know, it's a beautiful time to living on the planet, a beautiful time to be alive and be a part of this whole movement of this new innovative way of thinking.
Thank you, Sandro. And I love your energy and passion around this subject. Kathy, I wanted to welcome you. And if you could share a bit about what you do with our audience today, and also a lot of the families that you work with are interested and invested in both art and technology.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks, Juliet. Yes, so I'm a private wealth advisor at Morgan Stanley. I work with high net worth families, ultra high net worth families, to help them with their whole portfolio. So that could be investments in companies and stocks and things like that, or it could be investments in art. Typically 5 to 10% of an ultra high net worth client's balance sheet is made up of art. And we estimate about $3 trillion worth of art is held you know, in the hands of the private sector, individual investors and owners. So it's significant.
What percentage did you say, Kathy?
5 to 10%, or $3 trillion.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's a big number. And you know, I've gone almost every year. Of course, this past year we couldn't, but to Art Basel in Miami, and you know, we bring clients and we have conversations around art, and it's a very important component to their full financial picture. So from that standpoint, we also have family office services and wealth advisors that are specific towards art that we bring to the conversation too. So there's lots of resources that we can bring to the table, but having conversations right here with this team right here with Tati and the conversations that we're going to have, I think are really exciting, and bringing that knowledge back to my clients is always a plus too.
Great, thank you, Kathy. So before we jump in, Tati and Sandro, just set the scene for us about what ARTECHOUSE is, and then we'll run a short video so we can kind of bring it to life visually.
Yeah, absolutely. So ARTECHOUSE is a 21st century destination for a 21st century audience. We work with the artists who use technology as a medium to create, to bring their works to life, and also to connect a greater audience to their creations. We've started off with a location in Washington, D.C. We opened our first location in June of 2017. And since then, we've opened in 2018 in Miami Beach, and in 2019 in New York City at the Chelsea Market. Our goal has been always to create a platform for these artists to connect to an audience. But what we naturally and organically grown into is to become co-creators and producers of the work. We started to invest into creation. We started to invest into touring and expanding ways that this work is not only seen, but also creating an ecosystem for the artists that they would see growing and profiting from the showcase of their work. So to date, over the past 3 years, I think cumulatively we invested over $60 million into creating this ecosystem and supporting it. And we're excited kind of getting out of the pandemic to see more of the works created, to see more of our locations being open. Unfortunately, some of our plans got halted during this year. That has been difficult for everybody, but it's been great to come out and to come out strong and see a very hopeful future. But excited to show the video that we've prepared to give a little bit of a glimpse into the work that we've done over the past 3 years and ways that we support artists and engage the community.
Thank you, Tati. Our wonderful producer Molly is going to run that now.
Welcome to ARTECHOUSE. We're an innovative art space dedicated to showcasing artists who use technology to create. Our story began in Washington, D.C., where we opened our first permanent location in the summer of 2017, inviting the public into a one-of-a-kind art space where art, science, and technology come together. In 2018, we created a home for digital art in the heart of Miami Beach. And in 2019, we brought the first digital art space to New York City's Chelsea Market, transforming a 100-year-old boiler room into a destination for 21st century art. At ARTECHOUSE, one can always be inspired, educated, and empowered through exploration of groundbreaking creations and the best new ideas in this medium of art. We're proud to work with some of the most innovative digital artists in the world who are expanding the possibilities of art and how we experience it. Thank you for joining us at the intersection of art, science, and technology.
So just to explain, Sandro and Tati, how is this different from the traditional gallery spaces that we're used to?
Well, I think the most important difference is that over the years, with the traditional gallery or museum settings, we're used to be, a passive viewers. We would, walk through the galleries, would see the art, would take it in. Whether we, connect with it or not would be very limited to what we know about it, whether it speaks to us, right? With the technology, what we're seeing is that we're becoming more of an active participators. So it's really hard to say whether this is, is it an extension of a traditional gallery, is an extension of a museum, or is it a combination of many forms of art that we've known today, right? 100 years ago, the film industry came out, and it was a new way to experience, art, a new way to experience things, a new way of storytelling. And I think what we have here is that it's a very new medium, a medium that is being defined, and a medium that we've been working hard to educate the public more about it. We don't know much about it yet. We don't have the genres that have formed, for example, in the film, but we'll see more of them. I know that on our end, we've been focusing on showcasing the variety of art that can be created with technology and educating public. Do they enjoy more of a conceptual works? Do they enjoy something that is a little bit more, maybe it's playful, it's interactive? Do they like immersive? Do they like to touch on the subject of science and visualization? Perhaps it's artificial intelligence and how it's used. And then the methods and the technology is constantly evolving. Some things that when we opened our New York location, we opened it with a show by Rafi Kanadal, which was machine hallucination, and that used artificial intelligence and computer power to digest over 300 million images of the New York City. But what we showcased at that point in time was not possible a year before, just because how technology is evolving. And so what we're seeing is very different. It's a different way not to only experience but engage with art, but also a different way to support art. We have individual people who are coming and visiting. By buying ticket, they're the ones who are supporting the creation of new work. They're supporting the work of the artist. So we're getting a little bit into a decentralized economy where it's no longer just certain collectors or wealthy individuals who have the ability to invest into the art. Every day, by making a choice, we're investing it just as much as we want to support certain brands or buy a certain product because they are ecologically right, or they're doing something that we can associate with. The same thing we're seeing here. We're seeing how technology is making art accessible, and decentralizing it and creating experiences that some people previously just it was harder to get. Like I can say for myself, and I've been an art lover, but it's been hard for me to understand some of the artworks because it's hard just to be, a passive viewers. And over the years that we've done prior to ARTECHOUSE, we've learned that people need to have a connection, like whether it's an artist there or whether it's creating an experience that they can attach to. And what we're seeing here, it's just becoming more and more accessible through the use of technology. And that's what's been kind of our focus with ARTECHOUSE.
It's interesting. I mean, I love the video, and the sort of, it does bring you into that kind of immersive experience. When you set out with ARTECHOUSE, did you set out with that mission in mind of making it more accessible and inclusive?
Absolutely, yeah. I think art should be accessible, and art should be accessible for everyone. And I think same thing is like nature, to accessible all of us, right? It's the art is part of our nature of life that we're living in, and we are part of the creation of all that we see around as well, right? And I think yeah.
Our biggest, when we were opening the space in Washington, D.C., our biggest concern was, we're opening it amid a very conservative city, a city that only, thinks about, the politics and it's the political capital of the U.S., but also the world, very powerful. But it was like, is it going to be received? Is it the right time? Because as we know, a lot of things, have to have the right time to be accepted by society. And so within the first few weeks, we knew that it was needed. We've seen people that were emotionally moved, that cried. We've seen people, families who had children with difficulties, and some children with autism that revisited several times because of the way that their kids could connect to this art that they've never seen before. And seeing that really made us realize that we are onto something, and we need to continue on doing this because it has a profound effect on that accessibility, that and the layers, and that it's someone who's very novice to it has a way of connecting to it, but somebody who's very whether it's into technology or into art, has many layers to dig and keep on digging and trying to understand.
Yeah, I think that also, just to add one more point, I think that what Tati was saying earlier when we were opening, I think, one thing we are very proud of, that we self-funded whole venture. So it's something that we started with our own dime, and we built it to the multi-million-dollar business that now supports hundreds of employees and hundreds of artists that creating right now. So we created that ecosystem that didn't exist before. what Tati mentioned, used to be, it's again like it's supported by audience, and that's something I think it's groundbreaking. And
I was going to ask how you funded the business, and I didn't realize, I didn't appreciate it was self-funded. And I'm, well, just knowing how challenging the last year has been with the pandemic, how have you had to change your approach based on the COVID restrictions?
You know, the year was challenging because, I mean, as we all got affected, I mean, we had to shut down, and being, I think, a self-funded business made things a little bit more challenging and difficult because we've been constantly reinvesting into sustaining this ecosystem, into reinvesting into the artists and the arts. So we had to close down our locations immediately and really downsize our team, putting everybody, on furlough within the first month. And those actions helped us to successfully reopen months later when we were allowed to. But once the government restrictions were lifted, I think that we were definitely in a really great position, because prior to the shutdown, we've always invested into the quality of the experience. We've limited the number of people. We've been very conscious of making sure that individuals had enough space to experience the art. So everything that comes with the social distancing, everything that came with limited capacity, and then just upping, the cleaning and everything, it was already natural to us. There were only minor adjustments that we had to put in place to ensure that our staff felt safe at the locations as they were assisting our customers and visitors. But all the experiences are immersive and interactive without touching anything, and visitors felt way safer than they would if they were going to even grocery stores. So that has allowed us to really bounce back fast and open our locations. And I feel that we felt that it was needed. When we were reopening back, we reopened with some of installations that we had already in place, but then our art program was tremendously affected because of all the travel restrictions of artists, of access to equipment, things that we have pre-planned. We just could not do that. So for our second line of shows, we had to produce them in-house. We had to expand our in-house team. We worked, and as we were discussing internally, and we work a lot as a team all together. We've gotten more and more requests that can we bring back this submerged concept that we started when we announced the color of the year of the Pantone, and bring the classic blue to get back, because we opened with it at the beginning of the year, and it was to bring all this calm and instill consistency, instill hope in people. And our staff was like, we feel we need this, and we need this because people need hope, and art has a way of healing. And so we really motivated by that. We put in 7 weeks period, we put 3 brand new shows across all 3 locations that are currently, some of them are finishing their run, but it was a major achievement. And it was that desire to bring healing to people that allowed us to keep on operating and staying. And for our team knowing that what they're doing, they're not just doing it to keep their jobs, they're doing it because people need it. Everybody that we've seen come through our door, they've been thankful to have this outlet, with so many places, shuttered, with them, being limited to their, surroundings. They felt that this was an outlet, and just how peaceful it is to take in this art, just have this kind of a milky getaway type of escape from things that are happening around us. That's what art is able to deliver, and that's what we've been on a mission to deliver to people, and we've been very thankful to be able to do that.
How do you select your artists and determine your sort of programs for the period of time that you are presenting that art for?
Yeah, I do that. That's yeah. So yeah, I coming from the family of artists and all that. I think to me, I always had the eye for the next talent, and I think what's very important that the way we select artists. Many artists actually been doing this for decades and not showcasing in this format, but they've been creating in this medium. But I think with the collaboration with us, we work very closely with the artists to produce. So what Tati was saying earlier, when we first opened up, the first thing was, okay, there's maybe enough artwork there to fill up the space, our first location, and soon we learned that actually there is not enough exhibits that exist in the world right now that can be traveled or can be experienced and being created through the technology. So we find ourselves where similar think of like opening movie theater, but they have no movies, right?
Right.
And we end up become producers. So we end up creating that ecosystem, supporting the artists that working together to creating these exhibitions. So it's not just a similar, again, to going back to the movie production or theater production. It's not just the director's job to do everything, right? So it's a teamwork, team effort. So it's a very similar process here as well too, where I work closely with the artists and creators and with my team and their team, and we're putting all these things together for the public. So it's a process. It's a beautiful process, and it's something that it's a it's a team effort. So yeah.
Is it unique to your company, or are you seeing other groups creating similar experiences?
I think it's unique to our company because we do solo exhibitions. So most of the time if you come to Artec House, if we're showcasing the artists, it's we dedicating whole space and we're transforming whole space each time. So each time it's very different space that you're visiting. So every 3 months, every 6 months, we have new exhibits that we're producing. Right now, as we speak, we're producing 2 new shows. End of this year, we're going to have 5 more shows. As of today, we have probably 30 blockbuster exhibits and shows that we've done together with the artists. This is the biggest library of digital art in the world as we speak right now, and digital exhibits in the world as we speak right now. That's why when we opened up our first place, we realized, okay, we have end of the year, we had 5 exhibits that we need to travel or take it somewhere. And there were nobody to be interested in this medium as much. And we decided, okay, let's open up in Miami. We like Miami. Miami is beautiful weather. Let's bring it, during the Art Basel, open up a first location. That's what we did. We brought the exhibit that it was first showcased in DC, and then when it came down to so we start creating the ecosystem. In New York, same thing too, where now we have all this exhibit traveling, but at the same time, now we got hit by the pandemic, so we got in a weird time where it's instead of the opening more locations, we had to close them up and reopen them again.
Right.
But we're excited to continue our mission. We're excited to open up more locations. We're going to be announcing 2 more locations this year, and I think nobody does this in the world right now, and we are the first one. And that's what we're saying. We are the leaders in this field, innovating this new medium and creating this.
Sandro, you and Tati are like visionaries when it comes to this space. It's pretty incredible. And Juliet and I have spoken with many different entrepreneurs and founders throughout the year, and we find that those who can pivot and find their way through this COVID time period are the ones that are really going to be able to succeed going forward and make a really tremendous impact. I'm excited for the opportunity. I'm near Chelsea, so I'm excited to go check that out when the time is right. Yes.
And you have a new exhibition coming in March, right? Is it Geometric Properties with a Dutch artist? How just building on Kathy's question about how you find the artist, how did you put that one together, and what could we expect from going to visit it?
I mean, it's a very similar scenario where this artist has been in this industry for a long time, creating incredible works, but always see them in on the screen, right? So we have this screen that we all attach to the computer or the phone. It's the format. I think what we do with this art, we take it outside of the screen, we take it outside of the frame with the format of for us to experience inside of the space. And I think that's unique in a way.
And with working with Julius, this is going to be our
Second time, right?
opportunity. We did his first exhibition in our DC location a few years ago, and it was a great and phenomenal success. It was his first time that he showcased his work in this way, and with the capabilities of our New York location, with the technology that we've installed there, which is the largest megapixel count in the world, and the immersive sound that we had, it was a natural way to see what we can create. And so the piece that Julius has created, it's a commission piece specifically for our New York location.
And we've been working on this for 1 year now.
Yeah,
so
it's been in the works for a year. It definitely got inspired by a lot of things that happened over this past year as he was creating it. I mean, I would say that it's probably one of the few pieces that we'll see coming out straight up out of the pandemic as to how, that changed the artist's view of the world and everything. And what is geometric dimensions? It's an immersive journey for fractal worlds. So Julius is in the same way as a filmographer, as a director, he's taking us through this mathematical worlds that are formed of fractals and takes us on this unique journey, which is also inspired by taking us into a world that seems complex yet so simple in the way that fractals more of that repetition, and something that can take us again an escape from the today's reality into something else, allows us to really contemplate about things and see what we're going through today kind of in a different perspective. And it opens with a preview weekend, which is already sold out next week. And officially, yes, March 1st, and will be on view through September 6th, so through Labor Day in New York.
And how do you find the tickets?
You can go to ARTECHOUSE.com, and it allows you to go to whichever location you'd like to visit, and it's easy to get the tickets there or on our Google listing. So
brilliant. We'll share that in the chat group. There's a couple of questions that have come in. I also want to talk about technology and investment. On the technology side, how are you using it, first of all, at ARTECHOUSE, and how does that manifest itself in the space and the work? But then also, how do you think this will evolve for the art space as a whole?
Well, I think that, first and foremost, technology is disrupting the art world, right? It has disrupted all of the industries and ways to date. And I think it's finally getting to where we're starting to not have a choice of whether we're letting it disrupt or not, whether it's from creating, whether it's from collecting, as we're seeing, recently with the blockchain. For us, it's about getting artists access to the technology, because it's still limited. What we've run into is that as artists they're trying to experiment with things, but it's harder to get access to things that that might be the latest technology, unless it's sponsored by someone big. So on our end, we're trying to create this toolbox that artists have access to, and not just from the technology standpoint, but also from the support. And that's where what I think greatly differentiates what we do at ARTECHOUSE is that we do offer that support of our team, the support of the technologists, the support of additional creatives, even if in the form whether they have to do with technology or they're more of a curatorial. And something Sandro didn't say, like every time he works with an artist, he pushes them, he pushes to their new limits. So it's a handwork, it's really a teamwork. And so when we look at this type of art, it's never just a single person. And sometimes as a single person, you might not have access to all these things. So it's really pairing people together. It's getting them access to each other. It's bringing them together. And that's something that we don't see other organizations or galleries or other places do. They're just looking at it as a sole kind of, this is the art, this is what we're gonna showcase, this is what we're gonna present. Whereas we're like, this is your idea, let's bring it to life. Let's think of how can we put it into action? What kind of technology can we use? What kind of tools? How do we further storytelling, and how do we engage the audience? How do we enhance that experience? And that's kind of that different approach of how we use the technological tools to deliver this work to the artist, to the audience.
And what about the AI aspect of it? Because I know you previously mentioned that you've seen artists utilizing artificial intelligence in art that hasn't previously been available. How does that come to life, and how are you seeing that work?
Do you want to speak to that? I know you worked very closely with Rafik.
Yeah, no, I mean,
on
again,
the-
AI, it's computer intelligence, right? Like it's something that pretty much every our show is. It's not, something that, it depends how you use the word of AI and in what type of sense. But like the biggest show that we done with the AI was Tati was mentioning that the images of New York been digested by the computer and able to select the 300,000 images, and then able to filter the 300 million, and 300 million, and able to filter it to make sure that none of the picture have somebody's face on it, right, or somebody's identification. So all those process went through. Then went through the artistical, the creation of that, and it's like it's a 1 year process of going through that machine learning and machine use of that machine to the right scale of what the machine has to do for you to you collaborating with the machine pretty much to deliver something that we wanted to show to the people. And I think that that show itself, it was just groundbreaking, because nothing like this been have done in that type of scale. And our goal is always to use the latest technology, latest tools that we have, and that's what we've been doing with the artists always. That hey, if we can do this, let's push it to now, make it something that moves this high, right? So it's the challenging, and it's a living art. It's and that's why earlier what I was mentioning, it's a beautiful time to live in, because we have so many incredible tools, so many ways to play with those tools. But I think it's the most important is the storytelling. I think the beauty of the humans is, we have to put our soul into the machine to be able to machine help us to tell the story of what we want to create. And I think we're going to see that a lot, and going to the future, that's going to be very much in common, and something that what makes us motivate, and what makes us wake up in the morning is that finding the new talents, finding new artists, give them opportunity, give them a chance. And that's what that's what the drive is. And also the other educating public, right? Because we have 99.9% of the people come to our door never experience anything like this. It's the first time imagining the Lumiere brothers projecting the train coming to the faces, right? And everybody ran out from the movie theater. It's that experience itself. It's new. It's groundbreaking. It's something that we're gonna see a lot more happening. And we are kind of pioneering this. We are inventing this whole thing, and it's been a fantastic journey. I think it's just it's fun.
It's like super cool. I think, just what you're doing, and like you said, visionaries or, pioneers. My daughters and I were watching a Netflix show. I think it was Netflix, Emily in Paris. And in there, she went to a room where the art was live on the walls. And that was the first time, I think, that I had seen anything like that or experienced that. And I was like, that's so cool. I wonder if there's something, and then of course, the next thing is you guys are, joining us for this conversation. So it's very exciting. Is there, do you see a couple of things? One is, do you see art schools or different ways to help develop artists further in this area? That's one question. And, or is it more, sort of by experience or combo? And then two would be, we've spoken so much over the last year about COVID and how it is, accelerated digital transformation from like a 10-year time period and like sort of compressed it into 6 months. I think, Tati, I think you said earlier that you're seeing a lot of progress just over the year. Last year, I believe we saw a lot of artistic and creatives come out with, COVID forced us almost to have this extra time to create more and do more and think bigger. So I'm just curious about your opinions on those topics.
No, great question.
Yeah, no, we're definitely seeing more university programs that are now geared towards creating at the intersection of art and technology. We will never forget when we presented the XYZT, we had some people would come and they're like, we've been studying this in our school. So it's incredible to see it, in front of our eyes, because that installation, the first one that we presented by French artists, it's been 11 years that it was made, but it was finally relevant for people to accept it and understand. And it was really hard to understand. It's 11 years old. So, but it was still relevant to today, and some have been studying it. We're seeing, definitely, schools, we're seeing MIT, we're seeing MICA, we're seeing many others creating programs around that. And we have, I know our production team has constantly interns that are coming from these programs, wanting to learn more, whether they want to create, whether they want to be producers and experimenting. Because it's so new, it's definitely important for anyone who wants to step into this field to have access, whether to experience, to have access to artists. And that's something on our end that we're working hard is to launch more of that incubator where they can exchange the ideas, where they can learn from each other. One of the artists we showcased, Zach Lieberman from New York, he's also a professor. He has like a school of poetic computation, I think, or coding, and that's where people come. It's not like your formal school, but there are already even individual ways of people connecting. I think it would be really important to see more, I think, funds going towards that, because we see that as the future, not just the future of the art, but of our, creative use of technology. And I think that's what it's really important, to what you guys were discussing before, is how do we inspire the next generation to use the technology? And on our end, we want to inspire them to use it creatively, to see positive ways of how it can create an effect, a story that it can tell, ways that it can further the dialogue. I mean, we're getting more and more things automated, right? So the perfect future is for us to use our gifts and our talents as creatives together with the technology as a companion or as a tool to bring new innovative ideas. And so this is definitely really important.
Yeah, and I think school, of course, prepares for something, but I think being on the in the middle of it and creating it and learning, because even our team, we learn every time new things. It's each time with a new installation. There's no guiding book that tells you, okay, this is the way to do it. It's like the instinct, that troubleshooting, those crazy things that really unexpected. It's you cannot expect anything until you really even the installation, until it's done. It's still process of making it, because we learn from the people how they interact. We learn how the light is effects, right? Like all those elements. It's a living art that always gets adjusted. So there is no really the best school is the thing is in reality to making it happen, right? And I think that's what for us is we're proud of that we have worked with many artists that have been in this industry, and also the a lot of great talents that learning right now in our field, so on our,
I'm so excited to visit the space, and the passion is just it's infectious, and I also I love this idea of kind of building a space that is more accessible to people, and more inclusive. We've got some questions, so I want to make sure we get to them. First of all, Randy Gonzalez from Montreal. Randy, are you there? I can read Randy's question. It says, do you see house experiences as ARTECHOUSE within museums as permanent installations?
absolutely,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
We'd love to see that. We'd love for museums to take on. What we've seen is that museums are sometimes reluctant to invest or commission pieces by less known artists, and we're not. They're great at preserving and showcasing works. Some of them are more outgoing there, but we take a chances. And when when Sandro, the question was how we select. I mean, we always have to be driven by what we're passionate about and what speaks to us. And then see how it resonates with the public. But it's always just as it does with collectors. You collect what you really believe in and what you like. But we'd love to see some of the pieces.
Absolutely.
We believe that they have a place in the museums, and we'd love to see them there.
Absolutely, and I think that's our mission, to be aligns to our mission, to be in every city and being everywhere, to educate and bring this type of art to the public. I think it's sometimes it's shame when we have exhibit just locked down in a warehouse where it's totally can be experienced.
Yeah,
absolutely. We have dozens of incredible exhibits by incredible artists that level of to be in a museum and to be in that
deserve
to.
And as you scale, is your plan to scale across the US or internationally as well, or a bit of both?
Globally, absolutely. Yeah, we have great conversations all over the world right now, and it's globally, absolutely.
Yeah. Where our goal is to be in at least in the top 20 US cities, and then have outposts internationally, and we're working on like cross alliances to ensure that the work that we are bringing and the artists that we're showcasing, that they get to the audiences across the world.
Do you ever see taking on private investors, or mostly looking for sponsorships and partnerships?
Well, actually both. We have been proudly self-funded to date, and we've done that for various reasons. But we are actually this year, we are going into fundraising and taking on private investors, both institutional as well as private equity. And yes, we are expanding into partnerships and strategic partnerships. I think for us, it's always been, we don't do your traditional sponsorship because it has to align into what we're putting together. But we have proudly worked with a number of partners in bringing work to life. And one of those examples is we're putting together a beautiful exhibition that will premiere this fall called Life of a Neuron, that we've partnered with the Society of Neuroscience. It's an exhibition that is being sponsored by them, but they are a very much of a partner in this. And we have a full creative and artists and how we're bringing it together.
I think what's very important about this exhibit is scientists working with the artists together to create something about that has not been done before. To be honest with you, we're working with the human neuron, and this is the first time we have access to the data of the human neuron. And I think
and it is going to be quite groundbreaking
it
from both scientific world and
something has to allow. We really we are on a mission to stay here for hopefully next 100 and maybe more years. So we're really conscious in that sense, and we wanted to align with the partners that have share that mission. And
let's go to Denitha Doe next. Denitha, are you there?
Hi, thank you for this great presentation. I had a question about your ecosystem particularly the investor collector side. What have you seen in terms of demographics and psychographics? Who is being drawn to your ecosystem?
You know, in general, what we see is we see the largest demographic possible in people from all backgrounds. It's the most, I think, the rewarding is that this type of art, as we said, it's so accessible that it draws in not just the largest audience, but the largest supporters when it comes to it. As to when we're talking about investors and collectibles, it's something new of an avenue that we're, as we mentioned, we're exploring, and it's more important for us to align as to where we seeing this going and if that aligns with where that person comes from. I don't think it's as much important for us. It's more of like, do we see eye to eye, and how we can further this field. So far, like we've mentioned, we've seen a lot of various associations that we've worked with. We've worked with some institutions and private companies, but all those that are trying to make a difference, whether it's in arts or science, or how technology is used.
Thank you. Thanks for great questions, Anita. And Justin Douglas has got a question on investing as well. Justin, hi, are you there?
Thank you. Yeah, very fascinating to sort of hear what you're doing in this technological space. I've always enjoyed the kind of immersive art experience. And as a, if you like, a consumer of that art, it's a massive pleasure, and it can be very memorable and exciting. As an investor going in, I always sort of think to myself, who would sort of buy this huge, great installation? And do you see a sort of, I know it's hard to say, but a certain size limit, because obviously some technological installations, you can imagine being in some high net worth individual's home, people walk in and it does all sorts of funny things in front of their guests' eyes. Whereas some, which might take up a huge space, obviously that's significantly more limiting, and maybe the investor invests in a different way. So just curious to hear your comments on that.
So I think what we're alluding here is more of a collectible art, and yes, there are some individuals who would want to own a piece of it, of however they want to display it, and some items, depending on what technology they're made of, do take up more space than others, or can be adjusted in the way that they're collected. But we're also on our end, we are working on kind of at-home experiences that individuals can collect or take with them. So those do not require larger spaces, and I think that kind of also goes with our idea of creating and making this art accessible. What we're really focusing on with our ecosystem is that we want to support the creation and expansion of this work, and like to date, we've created together with the artists, created and produced over 23 exhibitions, which is unique IP that we want to see travel, whether within our locations or beyond, and continue, being expanded. Some of them can be
Place at home too. I mean,
collectibles. Yeah.
I think, listen, at the end of the day, there is no limit. I think with the technology, that's one thing. It's that, we had a lot of interest from that standpoint. Like to be honest with you, a lot of people just coming, oh my God, I wish I had something like this at home, right? Like I wish I had this bedroom like this. And I think it's totally possible, right? I think it has the price, if it has the right price tag, it's totally possible to create something for someone at home experience, right? But I think what our goal is really to get a wider audience out and get to connect to globally and accessible to this art to be accessible for everyone. I think absolutely it's possible to create something like this for someone at home, and we can totally make that happen with technology, with our team and with our artists and no problem whatsoever. But I think it's because we don't come from our background is more of how can we make this accessible to everyone, right? It's that approach of less of collective. Yeah, sure. There are thousands and millions of collectors, right? But we wanted to make sure that everyone is a collector.
Kathy, I'm interested, are you seeing, thanks for that question, Justin, are you seeing a trend or a change in the clients that you have, particularly the ones that are interested in art? Have you seen any shifts or trends that are taking place through your clients around the art space?
I think that we're at the early stage, right? There's always times and, where there's transitions coming or new ways of doing things. So I think that this particular type of art is newer, not as well known. I think that it's very exciting and very interesting and will continue to gain a lot of attention. It's something that I'm excited to share with people that I know or that work with me. But again, it's been such a strange year, and with a strange year like a COVID year, a lot of really incredible things come out of it. And the immersion into this different type of art experience where you are crossing over art and science and technology all into one is, probably in 100 years, everybody will think it's how is it anything different? So, and I do love the way that you guys approach it from a purpose and passion and access to everybody. I think that when you lead in any business, whatever business you're in, with that purpose and passion and with the intention to almost like do good and be kind, in the world and share the gifts that you have, I think you're going to be successful. And I really enjoyed hearing you guys today. Fantastic insights and thoughts. And I wasn't really that aware of it prior to being introduced to you guys and your company for this conversation. So if I'm one who hasn't, I'm sure there's hundreds and thousands of others who haven't, who will be just as excited to learn about it going forward. So I think you have something really special.
Yeah, we like to keep it under the radar, and organic.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't agree more, and I think it's so exciting. And don't keep it too under the radar though, because you're going to be in every city and global as well. But
I think it's a destination, and I think it's we are destined to what we do, and we're doing from the heart and for passion and from the knowledge, and we've been successful already what we have done, and we're very proud of what we have done.
Yeah,
it's of course there's a lot more growth to do, and we just want to do it with the right people and the right listen, we had so many opportunities that a lot of checks were coming to us, and a lot of people want to invest. And I think it's the, this is the time. And I think the disturbance of our reality, it's here, and there's new companies and new things will rise at this moment. And I think, we're proud to be one of them.
Yeah.
For many years now, and absolutely, and we're gonna continue.
So Sandro, Tati, and Kathy, thank you so much for such a brilliant discussion into art and how tech is transforming the way artists and art spaces think and do, and wishing you a fabulous year ahead. I'm really excited to see how this evolves and visit the exhibition when it opens in March. I know we did share, you can find out more information on artechouse.com. Also wanted to say a special thank you to you, Kathy Entwistle, who's our partner of the series. Kathy is a managing director and private wealth advisor at Morgan Stanley. And most importantly, thanks to everyone that joined us today. We will share a replay of this in our newsletter on Sunday, but thanks for your great questions. We hope you enjoyed it. Please do share any feedback with us. We'd love to hear your comments. You can email us at community@worth.com. And please register for next week's session, Thursday, February 25th at 12 p.m, where we'll be discussing how women give differently with business leader and philanthropist Adrian Arsh and Kathleen Entwistle. You can register on worth.com/events for that. In the meantime, be kind, stay safe and healthy, and enjoy the rest of your day. And thanks again to all of you. Thanks, Tati, Sandro, and Kathy.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.